It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Glenn W. Gerlach III, co-founder and CEO of GetIdentify.com. GetIdentify.com. I never do commercials. These are, I called Glenn. He did not call me. He probably is still wondering who the hell I am. I called Glenn. He's got a substantial business acumen and insight, have been deployed in a wide variety of areas, notably process engineering, supply chain management, disruptive technology, sales and human resources. Early on in his career, Citrix Systems, senior leadership team, and his peers recognized Glenn's gifts, among them his aptitude for navigating clients through operational challenges and generating innovative solutions. He played a key role in a successful process re-engineering project during his 2010-2011 university internship, where to this day he maintains a mentor-mentee relationship with the COO. Later, as the fourth member of the SaaS-based HRIS liability management HR4 health team, Glenn showed a flair for engaging customers and team members in the areas of pre-sales, training, support, and renewals. During his time with HR4 Health, the team accelerated growth by 370% year after year while boosting customer satisfaction and one of the most important company metrics, monthly recurring revenue, MRR. It was here that he emerged as a trailblazer and trusted partner in the opinion of leaders, peers, and customers alike. Glenn's leadership and technical skills as an Identify partner have been instrumental in growing Identify, highly adaptable, collaborative technology platforms designed for the benefit for the luxury of medical and dental industries. So let's get started with, if my homies went to getidentify.com, what is it? What are you exactly doing? You're in, where are you at right now? You're in San Fran?
San Francisco, yeah.
Are you
and
my partner in San Fran?
Just outside San Francisco, Marin.
Marin?
Mm-hmm, Marin County, San Rafael.
How do you spell Marin?
Marin.
So you're in the high-tech area, and you're out there where it's all going down. You probably could see Google and Uber and Facebook and eBay and all these great companies. So what are you guys, what's up your sleeve with dentistry at getidentify.com?
Yeah, so well, my partner lives in Texas, and she's actually got the very in-depth knowledge of dentistry. That's where that came from. My background was in technology, sales, understanding the customer, and I actually met Trudy at HR for Health when I sold the practice she was consulting for, the HR solution. Kept in touch with her over the years.
What's her last name?
Henderson, Trudy Henderson.
And she's a dentist in Texas?
No, she's got an interesting background. She is actually well-versed in high reliability operations from her background in 27 years in the nuclear industry. Very well qualified.
So then how did she get in dental?
She was consulting. She wanted to bring high reliability operations to another industry after she finished her career in high reliability operations in nuclear. And if the story is correct, and she might see this and get mad at me, but the story is correct, she came out to San Francisco with her husband for work. That he's in high reliability operations in nuclear as well. And she was looking for a way to expand what she was doing, went looking for jobs, reached out to a practitioner in San Francisco who had 13 or 14 locations at the time and said, look, I want to come on and consult, give me a shot. And she's been doing that for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, that is amazing. People don't realize that in the airline industry in the United States, if they had a 99.99 success rate, that means there'd be 4 airplanes falling out of the sky every day. Yeah. And the nuclear power plants, they can't ever have a problem. I mean, 3 Mile Island was their closest mess up, and that was 30, 40 years. How many years ago was that, 30?
You're asking the wrong guy.
When was 3 Mile Island? when did 3 Mile Island burp out some gas? But yeah, so Trudy Henderson, 1979?
1979.
So what is Identify doing then?
So what we're doing is we're taking technology, the use of high reliability operations, and putting them together to change the way that practices engage with the patient, the customer. At the end of the day, what we found in our pilot study with the practices is that technology has changed every other industry, right? they have, if you look at Amazon, right, your experience on Amazon and my experience on Amazon are so significantly different because they use something called customer profiling. But they have the ability to take data points from your phone, where you're walking, what you're going by. Google used to read your emails, right? All the where you're visiting on the web.
Dude, it's creepy. You know what I'm seeing at my house? You'll be talking to your son about something like this, and you'll go to do a Google search, and you'll type in like one letter, and it spells out what you were going to search. So you know they've turned on your microphone and knew you were talking about this, and heard me say, "Well, search Google." So I mean, they say in their terms and conditions they can turn your microphone on, and I'm seeing that happen to me all the time. I don't really care, because I don't want to type out the damn search, but I know they're listening to my conversations, or something's keying them. Like, I might just be saying, well, I'll search Google, and then they turn on the microphone, because, I mean, I've seen that 3 times this month.
Well, yeah, and it's like a fun joke I used to play on a couple of my buddies is I'd get on their computer and I'd search something ridiculous, like toilet seats. And next thing you know, for the 2 weeks, that's all that pops up on every website they ever go to is advertisements for toilet seats. It's hysterical. So but they're able to do that through millions of points of data. HIPAA laws don't let you do that inside of a practice, right? It's like they're siloed. That person exists as a customer profile elsewhere, but you can't bring that into the practice and use that as valuable knowledge to then work with that patient or help convert that patient, right?
Okay.
So what we're doing is we worked with psychologists to create on the front end of our platform a pre-treatment questionnaire. And basically out of this questionnaire, we are able to garner a ridiculous amount of insight about the patient. What their wants are, their needs are, their readiness, their urgency. Are they the decision maker? Do they have special events coming up? And then that all plays into the back end of our software, where we use machine learning, and AI is a buzzword that's thrown around consistently. And I don't we don't have Google AI, but we have computers that are analyzing the data that we receive back to produce scripting for the practitioner to use when they talk to the patient. And so if let's say Susie has a appointment, calls in for an appointment, and we get the information that she's got a wedding in 17 months. She's insecure about her smile. She's got the right urgency, and she's ready to buy. We're gonna tailor that script so that we can say, look, you're probably a good candidate for clear aligners, because in clear aligners with an accelerator, we can have you all tuned up well before the wedding so that you can get wedding pictures taken, feel better about yourself when you're up there smiling, and these pictures are distributed to your family and friends. And then that hits on that emotional level, which is not manipulative. It's a way to understand your customer and what they want and need, because they're not often going to walk in and tell you that.
You know who buys the most cosmetic surgery?
Who?
The lady who just got divorced and is now signing up on a Match and Tinder and all that stuff. She's wants to get all fixed up as she gets returned to the market. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. When you mention wedding, that's what everybody talks about. But my fix them up for a wedding, that hasn't even been 10% of the fix them up after they've been married 10, 20 years and they're going to return to market. I mean, seriously, talk to any plastic surgeon. So you should hack into Match.com and Tinder, and I tried to sign up for Plenty of Fish, but they rejected my profile and said I was a whale. They told me I had to lose 50 pounds and reapply. But yeah,
well, the camera adds 10 pounds. So.
The camera adds 10 pounds. So yeah, so this is wow, this is so this is the tomorrow we talked about today, right?
Yeah.
So have you rolled this out? How long has this company been going on now?
So we did a year-long pilot study where we actually, so before the pilot study began, it was Trudy and I talking about her experience and everything that had gone on in the practices she was consulting for. And I'd helped her with that over the years, and how to basically build an actual model that we could replicate that from and deliver it. So we did a year-long pilot study in 15 locations, and the results were really staggering. And one of the areas that we saw significant improvement in was Invisalign, and then Invisalign Teen. And Invisalign Teen, oddly enough, is one that Invisalign has had a very tough time capturing that market, and there's a lot of competition there. But for us, we were able to understand through the pre-treatment surveys and then the experience of the patients afterwards. And there's much more to what we do than just the pre-treatment surveys, but we were able to understand, if the kid is coming in and they're not the decision maker, they haven't had the pre-treatment requirements needed, we're not going to try and convert them. We're gonna build an action plan for a few steps beyond that first appointment. We're gonna make sure that we recommend that they bring the decision maker in, whether that's mom or dad, and then we know how to communicate with the child as well as the parent as to why it's important to the child. Because a lot of times we found is you have a patient that comes in, they're maybe in their teen, they're heading into high school, and if they tell the parents, look, we want a more expensive treatment solution, the parents are going to be like, I had braces, you have braces, no big deal, get them done, whatever. But when we communicate to the parents why it's important to the child, which they're using and expressing through the pre-treatment exam, the emotional and psychological areas behind why they don't want to walk into high school day one with braces, that's a much different conversation with mom and dad. It doesn't feel salesy for the practitioner, and it tends to have a much higher conversion ratio.
So you rolling it out now? You passed your beta site, now you're rolling it out?
Yeah, we're actually, so Appster, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Appster, but they're the top development firm in the country. They agreed to take on our project in November, and we're in the process of building out last November. And what we've been doing is looking for the practice management software, and we've narrowed it down to 2 right now that we're going to pick to go with. The practice management software that we want to use to deliver it to the practice. Who
have you narrowed it down to?
We're not going to say right now.
Well, I mean, it's Dentistry Uncensored.
It's uncensored?
Yeah.
Okay.
This show's Dentistry Uncensored.
One of the largest ones that we're talking to, and it's not, I guess, not a secret, is Dentrix, and that would be
right. That's the largest. That's owned by Henry Schein.
Yeah. So that would be a fantastic one, because we want to build the platform around what their customers need as well. Because I'm sure you've talked to tons of technology providers, and one of the hardest things that I've seen in my time of selling technology to anyone is everyone gets so crazy about implementing something new in a practice or a business, because it's like, this is going to be more work. Even if you promise less work for them, they think it's substantially more work, and they hate it, and so adoption's low. So we're built to be, behind the scenes.
Who was your second choice?
That one I'm not going to talk about, because I'm not going to talk about it right now. I know it's uncensored, so we gave you one.
Is one of them Open Dental?
Nope.
Because email me howard@dentaltown.com, and I'll reply back, because it's my experience that Dentrix, you could talk to them till you're blue in your face and drop dead. And I mean, it's like talking to a wall. And Open Dental is the fastest growing practice management software system in America. If you go to Dentaltown and you do a search for Dentrix, EagleSoft, all those companies, most of the threads are a bitching, moaning, whining, complaining session. Then you go to Open Dental, which is in Portland, Oregon, and it's just raving fans. Also, Open Dental is the only one that doesn't advertise, because they're growing so fast. They're almost growing too fast. In fact, it took me 2 years to get Nathan Sparks to come on the show, because he doesn't even want more exposure, because he's trying to build new buildings, exploding. But I think if anybody's going to listen to you, it'd be Open Dental. But and full disclosure, I used Kodak owned Carestream. I've been on SoftDent for 30 years. But after 30 years, I finally switched to Open Dental. And and I thought about it. But anyway, that's my like. And also, as far as Invisalign, dude, Invisalign's headquartered where you live in San Francisco. Have you gone and talked to Joe Hogan?
Yeah, we have, actually. One of our biggest advocates, one of the practice owners we did the pilot study in, is actually good friends with him. So we've had conversations with Invisalign. Great company, another company that just moves slow. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not going to be the only ones out there that are doing this, right? We're ahead of the game right now, but we want to get this to market so that we can show practices on a large scale what this can do for the business. You know, it's wild, because I was reading, artificial intelligence, that's going to be one of the biggest job destroyers in America. Just driverless cars.
if they rolled out driverless cars, they think 5 million Americans would lose their job. I mean, every semi-truck driver, every taxi driver, every Uber driver. I mean, this artificial intelligence. How close are we to artificial intelligence?
In all the articles I read, everyone says, oh, it's maybe 10 years out. But the advancements that just keep coming and coming so much faster, I don't think anyone has a friggin' clue, to be honest. I think it's going to be on us much sooner than we think, and the world in 5 years is going to look much differently, because the more and more data that can be crunched and the more understanding that these computers can have, the better it's going to be. Honestly, I think right now it's the need for like quantum computing to be able to do that, or the need for a larger ability to process the information for AI to really reach that level that's just going to blow our minds.
Well, when it comes out, I'm going to buy the first one and take it to a Farran family reunion so we could finally have some intelligence when our family gets together. And we finally could sit down and say, look, there's now intelligence at a Farran family reunion. So yeah. Is there anything my homies, so they can't buy it today. They can't do anything today. You're talking about in the future.
Well, yeah, we have a waiting list on our website, actually, and there's quite a few doctors that have seen the results inside of the practices that we've done the pilot study that have gone ahead and signed up for the waiting list.
So did you put my name on the waiting list, or do I got to go? So I see home, who are we, contact us, clients, investors, news, testimony. So clients, investors, that's where I need to go?
Yeah.
So when do you think you're going to roll this out?
I think Q1 next year.
So that's around the corner. This is already August 15th. I mean, it'll just be a blink. And you think, Q1 of 2018, you're going to have this technology, which is going to, if you tied it in, does it have to be tied into a practice management software, or it could just be a standalone tablet where, when they check in, you ask them these survey questions, and they might help you to decide this key, and this person might be a prime candidate for Invisalign, bleaching, bonding, veneers. I mean, how do you see the rollout Q1 of 2018?
Yeah, no, I mean, we could roll it out that way, but that's not going to be the most effective. I think for it to be set up so that when Susie Q calls in for an appointment, all that the front desk needs to do, nothing changes. They schedule that appointment, and we're going to fire off either a text, email, or call based on the patient's preferences in 42 different languages to get these questions answered. And if we ask them when they come in, it's one way to do it, but I think the best way to do it is to have as little resistance from inside of the practice so that we can scale it.
Nice. Well, then you should, if you're going for Q1, you got to move fast. You should talk to Open Dental first. You should talk to Nathan Sparks at Open Dental. We did a podcast with him. Did you ever change the name of that to Open Dental if they did a search? Yeah, just do a search under Howard Dentistry Uncensored for Open Dental. It's Nathan Sparks. But okay. So what else can you tell my homies today? Or should we just get you back on the show after you launched? Or what was your goal today? What did you want to talk about today? I mean, I'm the one who asked you, not you asked me, but why did you accept my invitation? I found this to be a very interesting concept, and I thought my homies would love to hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the things that I've recognized with all of the practitioners, not all, we don't want to make blanket statements here, but practitioners coming out of dental and orthodontic school, I don't believe that there's much training on delivering what the customer wants versus what the customer needs. At the end of the day, the patients are coming in generally to service a need. They got whatever they need done, they're coming to you generally. But that very rarely gives the practitioner an opportunity to say, what do you want and how do I better the experience? Because if I make the experience better for you, you're not going to go down the street to my competition who's offering relatively the same service for relatively the same price. What makes these customers stick? In an age where the consumer has changed completely based on technology, access to information, they have the ability to take a practice and either make it succeed or fail based on what they think and post on social media. How do you make sure that customer knows we value you, we value your opinion, and we're actively adjusting the way we practice our business to service that, right?
Right.
So for me, it's, one of the things you asked beforehand is if I had any advice for the students, and I think it would be they're spending so much time understanding how to give the patients what they need. But it's a unique opportunity in school to find out and learn how the psychology of the patients and how to understand what they want, ask for it, and then deliver it. And then beyond that, because everyone can have these grand ideas of here's how we do things, we're doing it better for the customer, rah, rah, what do you guys want? But you got to know after the fact, is there positive or negative feedback? And then when you get that positive or negative feedback, how do you adapt? So the way we go about things is a closed loop system, right? Where the outputs of the system adjust the inputs of the system. So if we're getting negative feedback, our system's going to notify the practice. We're going to identify trends in the feedback that we get. And this isn't something the practitioner has to read each line. We're crunching that data on the back end. And if we notice patterns, a pattern you need to change. Sometimes a one-off experience, you just need to make sure the customer knows they're valued. But when you adjust the inputs, you change the way you run your business based on the feedback that these patients are giving, that's when you see the results. The best feedback we've gotten, hands down, has been from patients who had a bad experience to begin with. Gave the feedback and something was adjusted internally in the practice, and then the patient was let know that there was an adjustment and that their opinion was valued. And they come back, when they do come back to the practice, and say, look, this was a much different experience, and the fact that you guys listened, and more than listened, adjusted, changes the way that I look at this business as a whole. And then that's why the practices that have used our platform, their net promoter score goes through the roof. 9% production increases. 147% increase in Invisalign teen. Referrals up 15%. The numbers are staggering when you stop and you look at, okay, this is a need-driven business, but we need to understand the consumer and the want. And when we understand the consumer and the want and we give it to them, it changes how these practices survive and thrive.
Well, and there's so much room to scale. I mean, if you look at the insurance data, just on a cavity, I'm not, it's optional if you need to bleaching, bonding, veneers, all this kind of stuff. But just on you have a cavity. 100 people come in with a cavity, they only drill, fill, and bill 38%. 2 out of 3 don't even get their cavity filled because the treatment plan presentation is so lame. It's so horrible. They'll tell you, you have an MO on number 3, a DO on number 4. When you leave, tell Agnes that you need a MO on 3 and a D and a DO on 4. You got it? And then they walk up there. Agnes is on the phone, so they just walk out and leave. It's so. And then by the time the average dentist gets to 5,000 charts, 4,000 have never came back. So you have an 80% mortality rate on their patients. And then you go to the dentist who's in a small town of 5,000. He opened shop when he was 25. Now he's 65. He's been there 40 years in a town of 5,000. And you say, hey, buddy, what do you need? He goes, well, I need new patients. How could you need new patients? You've been here 40 years. You've pissed everyone in the county off 3 times. And he has no idea. No idea. So to have a feedback, to go to this loop and to tell him, like how many times does an airplane correct its flight path when it takes off from LA to San Fran? They're correcting the flight. They're re-aiming the airplane every 10th of a minute. And to get feedback, to sit there and say, well, let's try not to lose 80% of our patients. And I'll tell you another thing about what excites me about this is I have a hard time being a short, fat, bald grandpa telling some woman that she should bleach her teeth. I'm afraid if I tell some woman, you should really consider bleaching your teeth, she'd probably say, you should really consider losing 50 pounds. And, I'm not going to tell someone. They already objectify women so bad. I just could never tell a woman she needs to bleach her teeth or get veneers or be a shinier object. But if some software could key me in to say, hey, she just signed up on Match, she just got divorced, or she's getting married in 6 months, or she's going back to her 20-year class reunion, and then you could ask in a real subtle way, like, do you like your smile?
Well, so we even know, because that's a question that you ask a patient, do you like your smile? A lot of them, they have this anxiety level, which we also gauge in the platform. And I'll send you a picture of what our patient engagement guide looks like, which is what the results of that are. But basically, if they have a high level of anxiety inside of the practice and with the patient, if you ask them if they like their smile, they're just going to go, yeah, it's all right. They're not going to give you an honest opinion. But if they're outside of the practice, they have the opportunity to tell you what they think of their smile or, their overall facial appearance, right? And that starts a lot with the smile. You can use that with the upcoming wedding or whatever it may be to say, hey, I know that you said that you've got some anxiety around your smile. You feel like it's holding you back at work. And it looks like you have some knowledge on teeth whitening. Why don't we take a look at getting you into whatever trays for whitening? And even so far as the payment plan, if it's not an expensive procedure, but if they need a payment plan to get it done, that beforehand. And so you can take, what I've always done for sales, right, just from a sales perspective, is you're going to get objections and you need to overcome those objections. But in the environment that these patients are in, for you to know the objections before they arrive, we're able to give you a plan of action for how to address them, right? And the why, when you're losing 80% of your customers, you need to know the why. And then you need to adjust that why. And most people are asking why, but in the wrong way. They're asking themselves, why don't I have these customers? Why don't I have these patients? Ask the patients that never came back before they leave.
So a lot of the, pretty much 85% of everyone listening right now is commuting to work, so they can't. So what I do is they follow me at Howard Farran, and so I retweet your last Twitter. You're at Get Identify. So I just retweeted your at Get Identify to my 21,000 homies on Twitter. So if you're driving to work and you want to know who this guy is, just go on Twitter at Howard Farran. I just retweeted him. Tell me this. Here's another interesting concept going on about what you're talking about. So what do you think the average new car costs in the United States for like your average new car? What would you just guess?
25, 30 grand.
Okay, 25. Let's just say 25 grand. And what percent of Americans do you think in their lifetime, one time in their lifetime, will buy the average new car for 25 grand?
50 maybe.
50?
Yeah. 50%.
Okay, so you look at the 211,000 Americans who have an active license today to practice dentistry. 95% have never sold one treatment plan in their entire life for $25,000, and then 5% of the dentists do it every single month. And they're in the same building. There'll be 8 dentists in a building. One guy does a $25,000 rehab every single month. The other 7 guys have never done it in a lifetime. You say the 7 guys, why have you never done it? Well, the economy and the president and the euro and cheap labor and the Chinese and build a wall. They got 40 million excuses, and they never say it's because the man in the mirror can't sell ice cream to someone dying in the desert. Why do you think 5% of dentists, when you come in, can tell an old man, look, man, you haven't, we could just totally fix everything up brand new, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to take out all your old stuff. We're going to fix everything up. The total bill is 25 grand, and they sell it. In fact, there's a guy up the street from me that sells, I think, one of the most I've ever seen. And he was at lunch the other day. He was selling this other day. He said, when you're talking about a full mouth rehab, say you present it to 4 people and 3 say no. God, if 1 out of every 4 people says yes, you're doing a $25,000 rehab every single week. So why do you think 95% of the dentists have never done it once, and 5% can do it every week or every month?
I think they're cut from a different cloth to some degree, right? When we interviewed the doctors, we interviewed a lot of doctors to try and understand why they were uncomfortable with what they called selling, right? And it has a lot to do, I think, with the fact that they're engineers of the mouth, dentists and orthodontists. They're engineers of the mouth, and they look at things in a very treatment orthodox way. Whereas the guy who's selling, the 5% who are selling $25,000 treatment plans, they look at the patient when they come in, they look in their eyes, they feel their energy, they better understand this customer, and then they talk directly to the customer the patient rather than about, hey, here's what you need from a engineering point of view. It's like a human interaction point of view rather than like an engineering point of view. And just because you tell someone what they need, it's a lot about delivery and understanding the person. You can't just tell someone they need something. They're not always going to believe you. Very rarely will they believe you, actually. They're going to be uncomfortable with the price of it. Once they leave and they say they don't know, that's probably game over. So you got to understand a lot of different components about the patient that I think maybe the 5% have a better way of asking or a better way of connecting.
I love how you say they're the engineers of the mouth, because the word dentist, the D stands for doctor of the mouth. The EN stands for engineer. And the TIST is artist. So you're a doctor of the mouth, you're an engineer, and you're an artist. I mean, that's a dentist.
Yeah, exactly. And so I know engineers. Some of my buddies are mechanical engineers, and they're the best people I know. But they could not sell anyone on anything. They could build me a rocket ship, but they could not sell anyone on anything. And so it's I think a different way of how you think about things, and you think about the patient or the person. But if you know, and this is the big differentiator too, if they know that it's something that the patient fits well into, if they're a good candidate for XYZ procedure, they're no longer as concerned that they feel salesy, ingenuine, that they're not doing their job, right? They're able to say, okay, well, Susie Q needs or is a good candidate for this. We know she's ready. She has the budget. She has the reasons to want it. Now it's my job to facilitate that and deliver it to her in a concise manner that she understands as to the why she would do it. Right?
Mechanical engineers and dentists have a lot in common. I mean, they're both engineers. They have the same language, talking about building bridges and wear rates and structural integrity. You know, and you know what else mechanical engineers and dentists both have in common? Both of them didn't have enough personality to become an accountant.
Yeah. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I love myself, but I would not make a good mechanical engineer. I do better when I'm engaging with people, when I'm trying to understand the customer and what they want and meet their needs, and then build the technology around it to deliver to them.
You know, and it's so sad that dentists think selling is a 4-letter word. When you look at the consumer and you go up to any woman in America and you say, how much money would I have to give you to pull your front tooth? Yeah. They say no amount of money in the world. I mean, you offer them $100,000 to pull your front tooth, never replace it. They say no, and I'll say, how about $200,000? You shave your head, you look like me, and we'll pull your front 2 teeth, and the rest of your life you have to be bald, missing your 2 front teeth. They won't do that for $1 million. And then you look at women who have told me, one of the women that made me the saddest is way back in the day, like 30 years ago. She had a whole mouthful of gums. She pulled her teeth, did a denture. She couldn't sleep with it in at night, so she couldn't take it out in front of her husband. So she kicked her husband out of the bedroom, made him sleep, and she locked the door. She got a bolt on the door, made him sleep on the couch because she couldn't sleep with the men, and she wasn't going to take out her fake teeth in front of her husband. After him sleeping on the couch for a year, he left, and she told me that, you know, she lost the love of her life because she didn't fix up her mouth. She didn't take care of her teeth. And then then other dentists have told me of patients that they had pulled all their teeth and did denture and noticed that woman had committed suicide in the following 6 months. And then, you know, we talk about dental health is really primarily to give these women mental health, because they can't have mental health when they're missing their front teeth. And then the dentist looks at all that and says, I'd like to sell dentistry. It's like, dude, are you disconnected from Earth? I mean, these people lose their lovers. Some check out of life. I mean, they won't pull their front tooth for $1 million, and you say you don't like to sell dentistry. It's like, then why don't you go to another profession where you respect it enough that you're energized to sell it? I mean, if you can't sell dentistry, what can you sell? I mean, can you sell a Ford 150 truck? Then go work for Ford. Yeah. I mean, is it just RVs you're into? Then go work for RVs. But if you can't get into dentistry, so to me, when I hear dentists say, I don't like to sell dentistry, my deal is then shred your license. Get out. Dentistry doesn't need you. We got 211,000 dentists. If you don't like to sell dentistry, dentistry doesn't like you. Get out. We want people that realize that this shit is serious as a heart attack. But why do you think the majority of them hate to sell dentistry?
I think it's just a big paradigm difference in how they think about things and look at the world and feel as if it's pushy or overbearing to make that recommendation. Because at the end of the day, I can tell you, I've never gone online and spent much time researching my treatment options and what would be good for me and why. So I'm going to go to the expert just like I do everything else. I'm going to ask them, hey, okay, you're telling me what's wrong with my teeth, my smile, my mouth. Now, what do you recommend? Because, you know, here's what I got going on in my life. Those are the questions that people aren't asking. They're not correlating. They think that if they tell them what is wrong, it's inherently known that it should be fixed one way, but if they want it done at a more premium level, like Invisalign or any other type of treatment, they're going to ask for it, which has never worked in any other successful business. And when you see like the growth in the dental industry, dental and orthodontic industry, it's not as if competition's thinning out, right? People are getting better at it. Corporate dentistry is buying out practices for above price just to have their books. I mean, it's a scary world for the practitioner who's not willing to adapt to the new age customer, which demands a tailored experience wherever they go.
So, you want to come back on the show when you launch this?
I would love to.
Have you mentioned it's coming on Dental Town?
No, I will. I will do that, and I'll tell you what. When we do release it, we'll get you set up with it and see what you think. So when we're back on here, we can get some honest feedback.
So did you get investors?
So you know what? We've actually turned down investing because the one thing that we don't want to change or sacrifice is how we go about delivering this to our customer, which is in the end the practices that are listening to you right now. And I've seen countless people take on investors and it becomes about the money. It becomes about driving certain revenue. And I have left businesses because of that. And I look at it like if you treat the customer a certain way, it might take a little bit longer to get your revenue where you want it to go. It could very well go just as fast, but it may take longer, but the end result is a lasting customer loyalty. So we're not compromising the way that we go about interacting with our customers.
Last question, and it's politically incorrect.
I love it.
Your industry and your region of the country has been under fire lately of not being nice to women. A lot of people say the whole high-tech industry is misogynistic, anti-women. You've read these, right? These reports.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making this up, right? You've heard all this. It was the what was the Uber CEO? Some guy at Google wrote a paper. What is your thought about women in Silicon Valley?
Well, let me start with this. My partner, Trudy Henderson, is one of the most brilliant women that I've ever met. Brilliant people, women or men, right? And the way that we're able to interact and understand each other. And she doesn't think like me, and I don't think like her. And that's a friggin' great thing, because if there's two Glens out there, we're co-signing each other's shit, and that's not going to end well, right? So we balance each other out well. She's very intelligent, and I think that women are probably more capable than men in a lot of areas. I know that sounds nuts, but I know that they are so driven and so hardworking. And a lot of times when I'd rather slack off, she's right there grinding, honestly. So I think that people are just crackpots if they think there's a difference. They're just trying to make.
But do you think it's a fair assessment of Silicon Valley, or do you think it's media hype exaggeration?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I know.
Absolutely what?
There's a
gender bias.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know where it comes from, right? But like,
hell, you do. There's never been a woman president in this country. I mean, men have been abusing women for 2 million years.
Yeah.
But
jobs that I would have, I know, like I would get paid more for them. I would never say it back, but when someone would talk about what they were making, if it was a girl, I'd quietly say to myself, like, how did that happen? Why are you worth?
Oh, I saw it in my family. We lived in Wichita, Kansas, next to the Arkansas River. I was allowed to swim in the river. My 5 sisters couldn't get 10 feet of the edge. I was put in jeans with patches on the outside and didn't have a curfew. They were put in dresses and had to be on the lawn when the street light came on, or they'd be grounded. And my uncle, this is a true story, my dad's brother, Mike, Parsons, Kansas, all he wanted was to date my Aunt Shirley. High school's over, never happened. He was just horrified about this. Found out she was going to nursing school, so he signed up for nursing school just so he could still be in school with my Aunt Shirley.
Yeah.
She didn't marry him till senior year. They finally get out of school. He's a boy, first boy nurse in Kansas. They go out looking for jobs. Shirley could only get 3rd shift. He was a boy, so he was given the head nurse. He was offered the head nurse at every hospital for twice the wages, and Aunt Shirley swears she did all of his homework and tutored him all the way through nursing school, and he basically was a very poor student. So I've seen sexism in my life. But you know why I'm really jealous of you, though, the most? Is because you are Glenn Walter Gerlach III, and I am Howard Eugene Friend II. And the reason is my grandfather was Howard Taft Farran. And then when he had my dad, he decided he didn't like that President Taft for God knows what reason. So he named him Howard Eugene Farran. So I'm Howard Eugene Farran II, and I'm jealous of you because you're the third, and I would have been the third if Taft would have been a more pleasing president to my grandfather.
Yeah. My favorite part about being the third is I get to mess with my dad and call him Junior. Hey, Junior.
I do.
And
I
he
think that is
loves that.
so cool. Calling your dad Junior, that is so funny. Well,
Right.
And all four of my boys, their middle name initial is W, because I named them all their middle name after their mom's maiden name, because I just thought it was so sexist, unfair that she lost her last name. They all took my last name, so I gave all four of my boys her middle name. So they're all their middle name, all four is Wells, and I think it's kind of a bonding thing. You four boys are the only four boys that are Wells Farrans. But hey, Glenn, this is so interesting. Artificial intelligence. We'll release this, get this on Dental Town, and post something about it. And then when you launch this thing in 2018, which will be like a blink in 3 seconds, come back on the show and tell us what you're doing, because this is certainly Star Wars stuff that no one could have even thought about when I got out of school in 1987, 30 years ago. My God, if you told me that there would have been a cell phone with the internet in there, I would have thought you were on drugs. I mean, I didn't see any of this stuff coming. But I'll end it on this. With all this fancy stuff, in my 54 years, I still think the greatest technological advancement of all time was the automatic garage door opener. Because whenever we pulled up to the house, I was the only boy, so Mom kicked me out of the car. That damn door was made out of wood. I almost broke my back every time lifting that thing up. And I didn't think it was fair because I had to do it because I was a boy, and my 5 sisters were just in the car laughing. But so this isn't quite as great as a garage door opener, but this might be a revolutionary thing in dentistry, and I wish you luck. And keep us updated on Dental Town. And when you launch, come back on the show. Maybe bring Trudy with you. And best of luck to you, buddy.
Thank you so much, Howard. I really appreciate it. It was a great time today.
All right. Have a rocking hot day.